Have you ever felt like, no matter how much you give, it's never enough? Like you're running after people who barely notice, explaining yourself to those who don't care, and fighting for spaces where you're only tolerated, not valued. Why is it that the harder you try, the further they pull away? And why does it feel like your worth is being drained by people who don't deserve it? What if I told you this? The problem isn't them. It's you. Not because you're not good enough, but because you've been playing the wrong game. You've been chasing, convincing, explaining, when you should have been stepping back, staying silent, and letting them come to you. In today's video, we're diving into a stoic power move that can transform your relationships, your self-worth, and your entire life. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, but it's powerful. The art of stepping back and letting your silence speak louder than words. This isn't about manipulation, it's about reclaiming your energy, owning your value, and breaking free from the endless cycle of chasing approval. By the end of this video, you'll understand why pulling back is the ultimate act of strength, and how doing less can bring you so much more. Now, here's something important. If you find value in this video, take action. Hit that like button. Why? Your action signals to YouTube that this content is valuable, helping it reach more people who are searching for clarity and guidance. And let's face it, change doesn't happen without action. If you can't take a simple step like clicking like, perhaps you're not ready to make the deeper changes we'll discuss. But if you are ready, take that step now. Like, subscribe, share this video. When you help others, you'll find the universe helping you in return. So, if you're tired of feeling unseen, unappreciated, and undervalued, keep watching. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment everything starts to change. Number 1. Stop pleasing others to gain their approval. There's a tragic irony in the act of trying to please everyone. The harder you work to gain their approval, the less they value you. It's a harsh truth of life. People rarely respect what's always available, always agreeable, always bending to their will. And in the process of molding yourself to meet others' expectations, you lose the most precious thing you have, yourself. Think about it. Have you ever bent over backward to accommodate someone's needs, only to have them brush off your efforts as if they were nothing? Maybe it was that friend who never reciprocates, but always expects you to be there. Or a partner who takes your sacrifices for granted, assuming your devotion is endless. Or perhaps it's at work, where you go above and beyond, thinking your boss will finally notice, only for them to pile on more tasks without a word of gratitude. Each time, you're left drained, disheartened, and asking yourself, why isn't this enough? Here's the answer. It's because you're playing the wrong game. The more you try to please everyone, the more you signal that your worth depends on their validation. And when people sense that, they take you for granted. Approval seeking isn't attractive, it's exhausting for you and them. Now let's talk about the personal cost of this habit. When you prioritize others' needs over your own, you lose sight of what truly makes you happy. You start making decisions not because they align with your values, but because you think they'll win someone's approval. You accept invitations you don't want, say yes to things you despise, and smile through situations that eat away at your soul. And where does that leave you? Burnt out, bitter, and wondering why no one appreciates your efforts. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not because it would impress someone, not because it would earn you a compliment, but because it made you genuinely happy? If you can't remember, that's your red flag. Let's get brutally honest. Not everyone deserves your energy. Some people will never appreciate you, no matter how much you do for them. And you can't set yourself on fire just to keep others warm. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that your value isn't determined by others' opinions, it's rooted in how you live according to your principles. So how do you break free from this trap? First, stop. Stop saying yes out of guilt or fear of rejection. Start saying no to things that drain you. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation. Second, take back your energy. Focus on what genuinely makes you happy. Maybe it's pursuing a hobby you love, spending time with people who uplift you, or simply learning to enjoy your own company. Finally, remember this: the people who truly matter will respect you more when you respect yourself. Imagine this. You're no longer the person scrambling to win approval. Instead, you're someone who radiates confidence, who lives by their values, who knows their worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. That's not arrogance, that's power. And it's yours for the taking, the moment you decide to stop pleasing others and start living for yourself. Number 2, the power of being hard to reach. Imagine a garden hidden behind tall walls, its gates rarely opened. Inside, the flowers bloom brighter, the air smells sweeter, and the beauty feels sacred. Those who are fortunate enough to step inside tread lightly, their movements careful, their voices hushed in reverence. Contrast this with an open field, accessible to anyone who passes by. The flowers there may be just as lovely, but their petals are crushed under careless footsteps, their value diminished by their abundance. Such is the power of being hard to reach. It's not about arrogance or pride, it's about creating space for others to recognize your value. In love and relationships, this principle is transformative. When you are too easily available and too eager to please, people take your presence for granted. But when you cultivate a sense of mystery and careful intentionality about who gets access to you, you create intrigue. And intrigue is the seed from which admiration and respect grow. Think of a relationship where everything was given too easily. Perhaps you shared too much too soon, revealing every thought, every feeling, every secret to build closeness. At first, it may have seemed like a connection, but over time, the dynamic shifted. Instead of cherishing your openness, the other person grew indifferent, their interest fading. Why? Because what is freely given is rarely valued. Now, consider the opposite. A person who is deliberate with their words, thoughtful in their actions, and selective about what they share. This isn't a game, it's a way of living with intention. Such a person carries an aura of self-respect that others can't help but notice. They don't spill their thoughts to anyone who asks, nor do they offer their time to those who won't value it. Their presence becomes a privilege, not a given. The Stoics understood this dynamic well. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you can improve." The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. In relationships, this means choosing your company wisely. Not everyone deserves to know the depths of your heart. Not everyone is worthy of the time and energy you give. Being hard to reach isn't about being cold or distant. It's about recognizing your worth and guarding it. So how do you embody this principle? First, be intentional about what you share. Vulnerability is powerful, but it must be earned. Before opening up, ask yourself, has this person demonstrated that they respect and value me? If the answer is no, hold back. Second, don't be afraid to say no. Your time and attention are finite resources. Offer them to those who bring value to your life, not to those who drain it. Lastly, embrace the beauty of silence. You don't need to fill every pause with words or every gap with explanations. Let your quiet confidence speak for you. Picture someone who follows this path. They are kind, but not overly familiar. They listen more than they speak. When they do share, their words carry weight because they aren't thrown around carelessly. In their presence, others feel a mix of admiration and curiosity, drawn in by the balance of approachability and reserve. This is the power of being hard to reach. It makes you magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because you inspire it. In love, this power is even more profound. A partner who knows that your heart is not given lightly will cherish it all the more. They'll understand that your presence is a choice, not an obligation, and that choice will deepen their respect and commitment. So let your life be like the hidden garden, beautiful, intentional, and available only to those who approach with care. Not everyone will make it through the gates, and that's exactly as it should be. For those who do, the experience will be unforgettable. And for you, it will be a life lived with dignity, self-respect, and the quiet strength of knowing your worth. Number 3, learn to embrace solitude. There's a cruel irony in the fear of being alone. People rush to surround themselves with others, chasing relationships, friendships, or even shallow connections. Not because they value these bonds, but because they're terrified of the silence. They tell themselves, if I'm alone, something must be wrong with me. But here's the truth. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's a privilege. And the people who truly shine in this world are those who don't just endure being alone. They thrive in it. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seemed completely at peace in their own company? They walk into a room, and even without saying a word, they exude an unshakable confidence. It's not because they're pretending to be strong. It's because they've found strength in their solitude. They don't need anyone to validate their existence. And ironically, that's exactly what makes them so magnetic. Now contrast that with the person who can't bear to be alone for a single second. They fill their calendars with meaningless events, cling to relationships that are long past their expiration date, and scroll endlessly through social media, desperate for any form of connection. It's exhausting to watch, isn't it? And even more exhausting to live that way. But why are we so afraid of solitude? Because it forces us to confront ourselves. In the silence, you can't hide from your thoughts, your flaws, your regrets. It's uncomfortable, painful even. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." The Stoics understood that solitude is where growth begins. It's in the quiet moments that you face your truths, confront your fears, and discover who you are. Let's get practical. What can solitude do for you? First, it gives you time to focus on what matters. Instead of wasting energy on people who don't value you, you can invest that time in yourself. Read books that expand your mind. Learn a new skill that excites you. Hit the gym and feel your strength grow, not just physically, but mentally. This isn't about filling time, it's about transforming yourself. Take, for example, someone who has just come out of a toxic relationship. Most people's instinct is to immediately jump into another one, desperate to avoid the loneliness. But what if instead you use that time to rebuild yourself? What if you took the silence as an opportunity to rediscover your passions, your goals, and your worth? By the time you're ready to step back into the world, you won't just be surviving, you'll be thriving. And guess what? That confidence will draw people to you effortlessly. Here's the paradox. The more you fear solitude, the more it controls you. But the moment you embrace it, you take back your power. You realize that you don't need anyone else to complete you. You're already whole. And when you walk into a room, alone but unshaken, people notice. They wonder, what's their secret? The secret is simple. You've learned that being alone isn't a weakness. It's a strength, a rare and precious strength that only the bravest possess. So stop running from solitude. Lean into it. Because in the quiet, you'll find not just peace, but power. And that power will make you unstoppable. Number 4. Don't let others control your emotions. Once upon a time in a faraway kingdom, there was a magical puppet. This puppet was the most beautiful creation in all the land, with strings spun from gold and movements so graceful that people came from every corner of the realm to watch it dance. But there was one problem. The puppet had no control over itself. Its strings were always in someone else's hands, pulling it this way and that. When the puppeteer was kind, the puppet would perform joyful dances, its movements full of grace. But when the puppeteer grew cruel, the puppet would stumble, its golden strings tangled and broken. The puppet longed for freedom, but it didn't know how to cut its strings. If I let go of my strings, it thought, what will become of me? Without them, I'm nothing. And so it stayed a prisoner, its mood rising and falling with every whim of the one holding the strings. One day, a wise traveler came to the kingdom and watched the puppet's sorrowful dance. The traveler said, "Why do you let someone else decide when you dance and when you fall?" The puppet replied, "What choice do I have? My strings are my life. If I cut them, I'll lose everything." The traveler smiled. "Let me tell you a secret. True strength doesn't come from the strings, but from within. Cut them, and you'll see you were never meant to be controlled." With trembling hands, the puppet gathered its courage and severed the golden strings. At first, it felt lost, unsure of how to move without someone pulling it. But as time passed, it discovered something incredible. It didn't need strings to dance. Its movements became its own, more beautiful and free than ever before. And for the first time, the puppet was truly alive. This story might seem like a fairy tale, but isn't it the way so many of us live? Like the puppet, we hand over the strings of our emotions to others, letting them decide when we're happy, sad, or angry. A kind word makes us soar, while a cruel one sends us crashing down. We convince ourselves that our feelings depend on how others treat us, And in doing so, we give away our power. Think about it. How many times have you let someone's thoughtless comment ruin your day? How often has someone's approval, or lack of it, determined your sense of worth? Every time you let someone else control your emotions, you're giving them power over you. And just like the puppet, you become a prisoner to their whims. But the Stoics remind us, this doesn't have to be your story. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You can't control the puppeteers of the world, the people who pull at your strings with their words and actions. But you can control your response. The next time someone tries to provoke you, stop and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, why am I giving this person the power to control me? By choosing not to react, you're cutting their strings. You're taking back the ability to decide how you feel and what you do. And just like the puppet in the story, you'll discover something extraordinary. The power to dance, to live, to feel, it was never in the strings. It was always in you. Number 5, react less, act more. In the heat of the moment, reacting feels powerful. A sharp word, a cutting comeback, a storm of emotion. It's tempting to believe that these bursts of reaction make you strong. But here's the truth. Reacting too much, too quickly, doesn't show strength. It reveals weakness. It exposes a lack of control. And worse, it hands over your power to the very people or situations you're reacting to. Think about it. Have you ever lost your temper in a meeting or with a loved one? Maybe you said something you regretted or overreacted to a small slight. In the moment, it felt justified, necessary even. But later, when the adrenaline faded, all that remained was the damage. A broken connection, a hit to your credibility, or a lingering sense of shame. Every time you react without thought, you risk becoming a puppet, dancing to the strings of your emotions and others' provocations. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Power doesn't come from reacting to everything around you. It comes from choosing what deserves your attention and, more importantly, your energy. Here's the problem. Most of what provokes us doesn't deserve our energy. A rude comment from a stranger? Is someone cutting you off in traffic? A passive-aggressive message from a colleague? These things may sting at the moment, but are they worth your peace of mind? Are they worth your time? Of course not. And yet, how often do we waste hours, sometimes days, dwelling on things that don't matter? Now let's flip the script. Imagine you're in a heated argument, and instead of lashing out, you pause, you breathe. You ask yourself, does this deserve my reaction? The silence that follows is powerful. It shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the one scrambling to defend yourself. You're in control, calm and composed while the other person flails. In that moment, you've won, not through force, but through restraint. But reacting less doesn't mean doing nothing. It means choosing your battles wisely. When something truly matters, don't waste time arguing or complaining. Take action. If your boss undervalues you, don't rant about it to your coworkers. Build your skills, prove your worth, or find a new opportunity. If a relationship isn't working, don't let resentment fester. Address it head on or have the courage to walk away. Every second spent reacting is a second stolen from the action. Think of the people you admire most. Are they the ones who lash out, who argue over every minor offense, who let their emotions dictate their choices? Or are they the ones who move with quiet confidence, who pick their battles, who let their actions speak louder than their words? True strength is found in restraint. It's in the ability to pause, to reflect, and then to act decisively. So here's the challenge. The next time you feel the urge to react, stop. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? If the answer is no, let it go. Focus on something that truly matters, your goals, your growth, your peace of mind. Because every moment spent reacting is a moment you could spend building. In the end, power doesn't lie in the noise you make. It lies in the silence that comes before you act. It's not about winning arguments or proving points. It's about living a life so intentional, so purposeful, that your actions become undeniable. React less, act more, and watch as your life transforms. Number 6, build non-negotiable standards. There's a certain sadness that comes from staying in a relationship where your standards have slowly eroded, where your boundaries have been crossed so many times that you hardly recognize yourself anymore. You tell yourself it's not that bad. You justify their actions, accept less than what you deserve, and cling to the hope that things will change. But deep down, you know the truth. If you don't respect your worth, why would anyone else? Imagine this. You're in love with someone who constantly cancels plans at the last minute. You wait, hoping they'll show up, only to receive another excuse, another apology. They promise to do better, and you forgive them. Again and again. With every broken promise, you shrink a little more, convincing yourself that this is just how love works. But love isn't supposed to feel like this. Love isn't begging for scraps of attention or justifying behavior that leaves you feeling small. Love isn't lowering your standards so someone else can stay comfortable. Yet we've all been there, haven't we? We stay because leaving feels unbearable. We compromise because we fear being alone. We accept less because we think it's all we're worth. The truth is painful, but it's also liberating. People will treat you exactly as you allow them to. If you set no standards, they'll cross every boundary. If you don't demand respect, they'll never give it. If you tolerate less than what you deserve, they'll keep giving you less. And this isn't just about romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, family, work, and every area of your life. The Stoics taught us that true strength lies in self-respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the essence of building non-negotiable standards. You decide what is right for you, what aligns with your values, your needs, and your worth, and you don't compromise. Not for love, not for approval, not for anything. So how do you start? First, take a hard look at your life. Where have you been settling? Is it the friend who only calls when they need something? The job that drains you without offering growth? The partner who makes you feel like an afterthought? Be honest with yourself. Recognizing where your standards have slipped is the first step toward raising them. Next, set your boundaries. Decide what you will and won't accept. Be specific. I won't tolerate being disrespected in conversations. I need consistency in my relationships. I won't overwork myself to please a boss who doesn't value me. These aren't demands, they're declarations of your worth. And here's the hard part, stick to them. When someone crosses your boundaries, call it out. If they don't respect your standards, walk away. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's lonely. But staying in situations that diminish you is far worse. Leaving isn't weakness, it's courage. It's choosing to protect your dignity, even when it hurts. Think about the relationships in your life. Who truly values you? Who respects your boundaries? Who meets you at your level? These are the people worth keeping. And for those who don't, let them go. Not out of spite, but out of love for yourself. Because here's the truth. When you build non-negotiable standards, you create space for the right people to enter your life. The ones who see your worth, who respect your boundaries, who give as much as they take. And most importantly, you become someone who respects yourself, someone who doesn't settle, who doesn't compromise their value, who knows they are worth it. In the end, setting standards isn't about shutting people out, it's about inviting the right ones in. So take a stand, choose yourself, and let the rest fall away. Number 7. Become the best version of yourself. Imagine walking into a room, not needing to say a word, yet every pair of eyes turns to you. Not because of what you're wearing or who you're with, but because you exude something rare and magnetic, the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly who they are. This isn't the kind of attraction that fades with time. It's not about fleeting beauty or empty charm. It's the undeniable pull of someone who has built themselves into something extraordinary. This kind of magnetism doesn't happen by chance. It happens when you stop chasing others and start investing in yourself. It happens when you decide that you are worth the effort, not for their attention, but for your growth, your happiness, your life. Because here's the truth. The most irresistible people are those who are so focused on becoming the best version of themselves that they naturally draw others in without even trying. Picture someone who embodies this. They wake up early, not because they have to, but because they're excited to tackle their goals. They take care of their body, not to meet anyone else's standards, but because they understand that strength and health are foundations for a good life. They read, they learn, and they pursue their passions with intensity, not for recognition, but because it makes them come alive. Their confidence isn't something they wear like a mask. It radiates from within, built on the solid ground of discipline, growth, and self-respect. Now think about how this applies to love. How often have you seen someone lose themselves in a relationship, pouring all their energy into their partner while neglecting their growth? Over time, the dynamic shifts. The partner who once admired them starts to drift, sensing the imbalance. Why? Because there's nothing attractive about someone who has abandoned their dreams, their strength, their individuality for the sake of another. But flip the script. Imagine instead a person who, even in love, never stops growing. They bring passion to the relationship, not because they need validation, but because they have so much to give. They inspire their partner by showing what it means to live fully and to strive for excellence. This isn't arrogance, it's authenticity. It's saying, I know my worth, and I'm committed to living up to it. The Stoics taught us that true fulfillment comes not from seeking external validation, but from mastering oneself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This is the heart of becoming the best version of yourself, not talking about what you'll do someday, but taking action today. So how do you start? First, commit to your health. Move your body, eat well, and rest deeply, not as a punishment, but as a celebration of what you're capable of. Second, feed your mind. Read books that challenge you, learn skills that excite you, and surround yourself with people who inspire you. Finally, nurture your soul. Find what sets your heart on fire, whether it's art, nature, adventure, or service, and make time for it every day. As you do this, something incredible will happen. You'll stop craving attention because you'll be so full of purpose and passion that external approval will feel irrelevant. Paradoxically, this is when you'll become most attractive, when your energy shifts from seeking to giving, from needing to thriving. You won't have to chase anyone because they'll be drawn to you. You won't have to convince anyone of your worth because it will be obvious. And you won't have to fear being alone because you'll have built a life so rich and fulfilling that your own company will be more than enough. So step into the spotlight, not by demanding it, but by creating it. Live so boldly, so authentically, that you become the person others aspire to be around. Because when you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, you don't just attract attention, you command it. Conclusion: step back is not defeat, it's strategy. It's the act of reclaiming your energy, your focus, and your power. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, and instead step back to focus on yourself, the dynamic changes. You're no longer at the mercy of others' approval. You're no longer the one waiting for scraps of attention. You become the one who commands respect, not through force, but through presence. This is how you take control, not by shouting louder, but by living stronger. Let your actions speak louder than words. Let your growth become undeniable. The value you hold isn't in what you beg for, but in the life you build. So today, I challenge you. Take one lesson from this video and put it into action. Start small if you need to, but start. Whether it's stepping back from a relationship that drains you, setting boundaries that protect you, or simply taking time to invest in your growth, every step you take is a step closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to Victory Stoic. Together, we're building a community of strength, resilience, and self-mastery. And always remember this: your value isn't in what others think of you. It's in how you think of yourself. So stand tall, step back, and watch the world come to you. Stay strong, stay focused, and stay stoic.